I'm Huon Hooke, and this is The Real Review. The wine we're tasting today is Bream Creek Old Vine Reserve Riesling 2018 from the east coast of Tasmania. A chap called Fred Peacock, who is the owner of Bream Creek, one of the most experienced viticulturists in all of Tasmania. He's been growing grapes in Tasmania for at least 35 years. He bought a vineyard which was established in 1974 in 1990, so it was already established by the time he bought it. He then expanded it quite a bit, and it's become quite a famous name in Tasmania. So the Bream Creek vineyard is loosely located in the east coast section of Tasmania, but it's not up on the Freycinet Peninsula area where most of the vineyards are. It is in fact further south and further towards Hobart. If you were driving from Hobart towards Port Arthur and Eaglehawk Neck, you would pass the Bream Creek vineyard. It overlooks a place called Marion Bay, which is where some of the early settlers, the early French settlers arrived. And also Abel Tasman, I think, was the first person to land there in 1642. So a long, long time ago, and actually put up the Dutch flag there. Fred's Bream Creek vineyard was threatened by bushfire in 2013. It was a fire that was quite devastating in that part of Tasmania, especially for a little town called Dunalley, which is very close to the Bream Creek vineyard. The fire came up over the hill and was about to burn Fred's vineyard when there was a change of wind. He was very, very lucky. It saved his vineyard. But Fred has an enormous amount of experience growing grapes in Tasmania, and he has some of the great wines of Tasmania come out of his property. Sparkling wines, Chardonnays, Pinot Noirs, but best of all is the Riesling. And this particular wine, the Old Vine Reserve, comes from the oldest vines on the property, 1974, which makes them the oldest block of Riesling vines in Tasmania. Fred's other passion is sailing, and he sails a 1969 built Huon pine yacht around Tasmania. That's his great passion apart from wine. The first thing you notice about it is how light the colour is. It looks more like a 2020, or at least 2019, not an 18, which is now 2.5 years old. The colour, of course, gets darker as they get older, but very, very good wines age more slowly. The bouquet here is still very quiet, very reserved, and it's minerally as well as floral. It's quite an interesting nose. It's already starting to be quite complex, and it's got a touch of that paraffin wax character that Riesling tends to acquire with a bit of time. Not really talking about overt toastiness, not yet anyway, but there will be in the future. But right now, you can tell it's just starting to develop. Some nutty character as well. Roasted almonds be in the background there, a little bit of musk. The flavour is wonderful. It's very fine, but it's also rich and intense. Seems to be a bit of a contradiction. Delicacy as well as richness, or delicacy on one hand and intensity on the other hand, but it can happen in a very, very good wine like this. It has a lemon zesty flavour, a lot of things happening there. There are floral notes, there are these nutty characters, there's this touch of paraffin wax. Wonderful flavour that lasts and lasts and lasts, continues right through, a long, long finish. And the wine finishes nice and dry, so that it leaves your mouth refreshed and wanting another sip. But if you think about that middle palate, it's not entirely dry. There's probably a couple of grams of sweetness in there, just making that mid palate soft and fruity and delicious. We scored it 96 points, which is a high gold ribbon score, very high score. The threshold for gold ribbons is 95, of course. It was rated number 2 out of the 57 Rieslings that we tasted from Tasmania in the 2018 vintage, so very, very high rating indeed. We suggest drinking it from now until 2026, another 6 years. I suspect it will last quite a bit longer than that, but that's probably the optimum drinking window. It's a top-ranked wine because it's very good value as well. It's $48 for a wine which has got a couple of extra years of age on it. That's good value. We asked Fred Peacock, who is the vigneron, what he would match with this, and he's given us quite a detailed answer. He said caramelised pork belly braised in star anise with a salad of lychee, orange and watercress. And he has even given us a reference for that from a Brisbane-based Thai chef, Timmy Kemp, who is the executive chef at Chow House in Brisbane. That's where he got the idea from. So well done. I think that's probably an excellent match, and I would love to try it sometime. Good health.